Hello friends, welcome back to Magic Mondays. Today we're looking at a deck called Aural Stimulation, and I'll explain that in a minute. And the commander is Eriette of the Charmed Apple. Legendary human warlock. Each creature that's enchanted by an aura you control can't attack you or planeswalkers you control. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the number of auras you control. The title actually is from a high school music class I took, where the state I lived in had an exam that had a listening section to it, and they referred to the music that we had to listen to as aural stimulation. For high schoolers, that was just tremendous fun. So, average mana cost is 2.7, 31 white cards, 24 black cards, 13 creatures. We don't really have any dominant type in here. We have 4 humans and that's it. We have 10 artifacts, mostly mana rocks, and we have 39 enchantments, which includes 21 auras, a couple of classes, some curses, 2 gods, and a saga. And we've got 39 lands because that mana cost is a little bit on the low side. We don't need as much land. So for the auras, we have things like Candle Trap, which prevents the opponent from attacking us because of the Eriette ability, but also because Enchanted Creature has Defender. And we have things like Demotion, can't block, and its activated abilities can't be activated. We've got some removal, like Dead Weight and Gift of Fangs. We have a Detention Vortex, which is just another aura to throw in there to make people stop doing stuff. For classes, we have Cleric class. Now, I did include, because there's an intrinsic life gain built into this card, we do have some life gain stuff in here, like Cleric class. We do have Warlock class as well. So this, we can basically just double the damage we're dealing with those auras if we get it up to the tier 3. And I like the class cards. I think they're kind of neat. We've got more, I don't even know what to call these, like stasis auras. Stasis is its own card, but things that enchant creatures to make them not able to attack and or block, like that. Or hold for ransom, or pacifism, or trapped in the tower. Those all do the same thing. We do have flowering of the white tree to get legendary creatures +2/1 and get ward 1. So that would make our Eriette a 4/5 with ward 1. We've got a core spirit dancer, which we could throw some positive auras on this one here to get her bigger, and it also helps us with card draw. Ossification for some removal. Realmbreaker's Grasp, again, is one of these other cards like I highlighted before, like the Cooped Up and all that. The Regal Bunnycorn, because it's so silly, but its power and toughness are equal to the number of non-land permanents you control. So there's quite a few of those in this deck, and it made sense to throw it in there, and also it's just weird. SRAM lets us draw cards whenever we cast auras. Voice of the Blessed. I generally hate this card, but in a deck with intrinsic life gain, like I mentioned, it makes sense for it to be here, because it's going to get big, and it's going to get flying, and it's going to get vigilance, and if it goes on long enough, it's going to get indestructible. Deadman's Chest is an enchantment aura, which we enchant a creature an opponent controls, and when it dies, exile cards equal to its power from the top of the owner's library, and you may cast spells from among those exiled with any type of mana. Just kind of a fun little control element to this deck. Lord Skitter's Blessing is one of the new cards. When it enters the battlefield, create a Wicked Roll token, which is an aura, as you can see. And it gets +1/1, and when it's put into the graveyard from the battlefield, each opponent loses a life. So this is just to create another aura, and to let us get some more draw at the cost of 1 life, but there's some life gain in here, so it kind of balances. Mire's Grasp, like the weight card earlier, is just a removal card. Oversold Cemetery, I really like this, and I really like the art. But at the beginning of your upkeep, if you have 4 more creature cards in your graveyard, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. That is a super cool card. Just super cool. Vengeful Strangler, which he's here just to die and become an aura. So at the beginning of your upkeep, enchanted permanent's controller sacrifices a non-land permanent and then loses a life. Wicked Visitor. Whenever an enchantment you control is put into a graveyard, each opponent loses a life. A nice 2/2 for 2 common creature that works really well in this deck. Wither Crown, another aura, but reduces enchanted creature's power to 0, and has at the beginning of your upkeep you lose a life unless you sacrifice this creature. Great card, very versatile, and it is a common. Killian, Ink Duelist. Spells you cast that target a creature cost 2 less to cast. Nice for all these auras. Mana Rock, and a Mana Rock. And some removal with Banishing Light and Borrowed Time. Bound in Gold is just another version of like the Stuck in the Tower or whatever it's called. I did put Heliod in here, but he's one of the 99, so don't yell at me. Knight of Doves. Whenever an enchantment you control is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, create a 1/1 flying bird token. Just some versatility. Demonic Embrace, a reusable aura. Very nice. Some more removal here, plus exiling target opponent's graveyard for those pesky Reanimator decks. Inevitable End. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice a creature. It's just a very useful card, and it's an aura. Minion's Return, also an aura, but I can actually steal an opponent's creature this way. Tainted Remedy. If an opponent would gain life, they lose that much life instead. I really like that this card exists. Lurrus of the Dream Den lets me recast those auras that are value 2 or less over and over and over again. It's great with Dead Weight or with Mire's Grasp, because we could do it every single turn and remove an opponent's creature, potentially. Profane Procession lets us exile target creature and then cast them if they're not the commander. I like to use this on the commander every turn, just so my opponent can never get their commander out for longer than their own turn. Very useful card. Mana Rock. Reduce the cost of enchantments here. Mana Rock. Nettle Cyst gets Living Weapon, but it gets +1/1 for each artifact and or enchantment you control. Pretty useful card. We put in the Planeteer because it's a powerful card and it helps us scry and get to what we need. And worst case scenario is our opponent mills our cards and then they lose life. Mana Rock, Mana Rock, Mana Rock. Give ourselves Hexproof. This is not an aura, so it doesn't count towards the aura theme, but it is a useful card. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, tap target creature an opponent controls. This card I was kind of on the fence about, but it's a common, it's in the new set, and I do have a lot of enchantments in here, so it can be a helpful card. Dogged Pursuit is kind of an old favorite. Just at the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses a life, you gain a life. Simple. I had considered putting Neva as the commander in this deck, but I didn't. So 2/2 Human Noble with Menace. When she enters the battlefield, return target creature or enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand. Whenever an enchantment is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on Neva and scry 1. I thought about it, but I like Eriette better, so I put Neva in here as one of the 99. This card can be really broken, because whenever you cast an enchantment, create a 4/4 white flying angel token. With how many enchantments we have in this deck, it can really go off very quickly. And here's our second god, Athreos, who will put a coin counter on a creature at the end of each turn. And whenever that creature dies, if it has a coin counter on it, it comes back to me under my control on the battlefield. And now we've got some expensive stuff to end it out here. We've got Cruel Reality, enchant player or a curse at the beginning of each enchanted player's upkeep. That player sacrifices a creature or planeswalker. If they can't, they lose 5 life. Useful board control card here. And I can reduce the cost of enchantments, and it's an aura curse, so it counts as an aura for Eriette. Similarly, Virtue of Persistence. At the beginning of your upkeep, put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. So it's not an aura, but these two combo together. I mean, at the beginning of my opponent's upkeep, they sacrifice a creature. At the beginning of my upkeep, I take that creature. It was too stupid for me to not include it. And finally, Overwhelming Splendor, another aura curse. Enchant player. Creatures enchanted player controls lose all abilities and have base power and toughness of 1/1. Enchanted player can't activate abilities that aren't mana abilities or loyalty abilities. Stupid, game-breaking strong. And then some lands. Our normal array of multicolored lands here, and our Locthwain, Cabal Stronghold, and Phyrexian Tower. So that's the deck. Let's check it out. As always, if you enjoy this video, please color in that little thumbs up icon that's right there on your screen. I really appreciate that. You could also leave a comment and subscribe to the channel and check out some of my other stuff. I'm playing 7 Days to Die and Death Road to Canada and War for the Overworld, and I've got a whole bunch of stuff on tap and Link to the Past, and I'm doing a lot of things here, and I want you along for the ride. So, as I said, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, and as always, be kind to yourselves and each other, and we'll see you again real soon. Let's get to some games.